What is a ScoutIQ trigger and how does it work? That's what we'll cover in this 3-Minute Thursday. What's going on? My name is Matthew Osborne, and today we're going to dive into ScoutIQ triggers. What are they? How do they work? And should I modify them? If this sounds interesting to you, be sure to hit that subscribe button below to be notified when future videos just like this go live. Okay, so ScoutIQ triggers. What the heck is a trigger? Well, a trigger is simply the logic behind the app that makes it say accept or reject when you scan an item. It basically is a set of rules you give ScoutIQ to tell you whether an item is worth reselling for you or not. Now, thankfully, you don't need to completely understand how this all works to begin to be successful with ScoutIQ. ScoutIQ has default triggers built in that Caleb Roth and myself use in our personal Amazon businesses that we think are a great starting point without any further modification. In this video, I just want to show you how those default triggers are set up, what they're looking for to decide whether an item is worth selling or not, and then how you can change them if you decide to do so. Knowing how triggers work is important to being able to understand what you see on your screen and understand what you're purchasing and whether it's a good deal or not. Chances are, if you've already gone out and scanned a lot of books, you've been confused by some of the numbers on your screen. For example, you might have come across a book and scanned it and it said $45 profit, but somehow it says reject. Or maybe you scan another book and it shows only $2 profit, but yet it says accept. And it can be confusing at first if you don't understand how these triggers work. So knowing your triggers will help you understand why these things occur and what they actually mean for you and your business. Let's head over to ScoutIQ and log in, and we'll dive into what triggers are there. If you're not already a ScoutIQ user, you should be, and you can sign up for a free trial on the homepage and then follow along with this video after that. All right, so the easiest way to see how triggers work is to look at some real life examples. So here I am on the ScoutIQ portal. Up at the top, you're gonna click this triggers button right here, and it's gonna open up a page like this. Likely, you'll only see these first two if you've not been in here before. You'll see ScoutIQ Default and ScoutIQ Default UK. The UK ones are if you're in the United Kingdom, you have these automatically selected. Everyone else in the US is going to have ScoutIQ Default triggers selected. This is what triggers will look like if you create new trigger sets, which we'll talk about in a minute. Right now, let's look at the ScoutIQ Default triggers. Click those to see how those work. Alright, you can also see I have ScoutIQ open, and I have some books laid out beside me. I'm going to scan these books, and we're going to look at real life, what it's choosing, why it's saying accept or reject, and try and figure out how the triggers are working. So let's scan the first book here. Alright, so I've scanned our first book. It's in live mode. It was an accept. $3 profit, E-score of 78. So let's see why it said accept. So E-score of 78, let's look down here at the triggers, and you can see we have minimum E-score and maximum E-score. These are ranges that'll set off a specific trigger. So for 78, it looks like it's going to be trigger 3. E-score is between 71 and 114. We have 78, so trigger 3 was set off here. It skipped over rank because this book has an E-score, and then it targeted FBA slot number 3. As you can see on the screen here, there is nothing in the FBA slot number 3. So then I looked at the highest merchant fulfilled slot, which on here is $6.99. I'm highlighting it right here. You can see it's $6.99. Then it compared that to the buy box. Is the buy box higher is what it's trying to look at. As we can see, the buy box is $8.94, so it is higher. So what it's saying is that the buy box, since it's higher than the highest merchant fulfilled, is most likely the lowest prime price. So that's what we're going to use as our comparison. So it selected the use buy box. It's going to take 10% off Amazon's price if Amazon is that's cheaper. Except as you can see right here, Amazon's $15.99, so 10% off of that is still higher. So it's still going to keep that used buy box. And then we're going to look for a target profit of $2.50. Right now, this book is $3.02 profit, so it is an accept. Let's look at another book and keep doing a few of these, and I'll start catching on how these triggers work and the logic it's looking at to say accept or reject. This fit all the criteria. It was over $2.50 profit, so it triggered an accept. Let's scan another book. Let's try that one more time. All right. So we have a reject. It says negative $1.89. Probably not something you'd want to sell. E-score of 4. So let's see why this said reject. Obviously, you never want a negative profit, so that's a good indicator of why it would say reject. But let's take a look anyway. So E-score of 4. So that's going to trigger trigger number 8 here, E-scores between 3 and 5. So this book is not even selling once a month. Remember, E-score is based off 180 days, so an E-score of 6 means it's selling about once a month. So E-score 4 is even less than that. So I looked at E-score, did trigger number 8, skipped over rank because E-score exists. FBA slot, it skips. MF slot is going to look at merchant fulfilled slot number 2, which as you can see is highlighted on the screen. That's how you can tell what the trigger is selected. And that price is $5.93. As you can see, the lowest 4 merchant fulfilled are actually all $5.93. That doesn't get up to $5.95 until right after that. So $5.93, it picked number 2. Compared to the buy box, no, because we don't care if the buy box is $19. This book's rarely selling, so we're going to actually sell it for one of the lowest prices. That way we can guarantee we'd be the next sale if we were to send this in. So that's why we're not comparing to the buy box. 10% off Amazon's price. Amazon doesn't exist on this listing. And target profit of $10. So obviously negative $1.89 did not meet that criteria, so it says reject. Let's scan another book and see how it works. Alright, here is another book. It says accept, $5.99 profit, E-score of 9. So let's take a look at this. E-score of 9 is in between 6 and 12, so trigger 7 went off, skipped over rank. FBA slot number 1 doesn't exist. It's not visible right now. It doesn't mean it actually doesn't exist. It means it's not in the lowest 20 offers, which is what the API gives us. So since it's not visible, we look at merchant fulfilled slot number 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Merchant fulfilled slot $5.67. It compares it to the buy box. Is the buy box more? The buy box is more. So then it grabs that price, take 10% off Amazon's price to see if that is more. Amazon doesn't exist, so it skips over this. And then it's going to target $5 as an accept. As you can see, this is $5.99. So it's more profit than our target profit, so it says accept. Now, the reason profit keeps going up, if you look at these triggers right here, trigger 1 is $2, then it goes $2.50, $3, is because the longer it takes for a book to sell, the more profit it needs to have to be worth it. So, for instance, $2 profit. If you spend $1 for a book, you make $2, you make 100% return on your investment. It'll likely sell within the same week it hits Amazon, since these ones are selling so often. So it's worth it to invest $1 to make $2. Whereas if you have a book down here like the one we actually just scanned, E-score of 9, it's barely selling more than once a month. So is it worth it to spend $1 to only make $2 if it might not sell for 6 months if you're the 6th sale that it gets? No, it probably is not worth it when you could invest it into something that's selling more frequently. But if you can make $5 profit, a 500% return on your investment, then yeah, that's worth it to wait a couple months to try and get that sale. So that's why the numbers keep going up, the target profit, as the sales slow down. So that's why this one was accept. Let's look at one more example. Negative 24 cents profit. That one's pretty obvious why it says reject. Let's do another one. $4.83 profit. All right, good example right here. $4.83 seems like a decent amount of profit. Why would I not want to make $4.83, especially if it's like a 50-cent book? So E-score of 6. So it hit trigger 7 again. So trigger 7 looked at FBA slot number 1. Didn't exist, or it's not visible. Compared it to number 5. Number 5 does exist, $5.17. Compare that to the buy box. Buy box is more at $10.83. 10% off Amazon. Amazon's not on the listing, so we're targeting a profit of $5. This one's $4.83. So this is one of the books that's close. It's on the edge. We have to have hard cutoffs with these triggers because we can't just say anything around this general area, say accept. We need to have hard cutoffs to say it's either worth it or it's not worth it. This is just outside of that range. So this is where it comes to personal preference and how you can edit your triggers. If you say, hey, I'm willing to make $4.83 even though this book's likely not going to sell for a couple months, then you can lower this trigger and say you'll accept it up to $4 instead of $5 or $4.50, and this book would have been an accept. But by the ranges we put in here by default, but why the ranges we run our Amazon businesses off of, we said $5 the minimum, so this is a reject. I probably, if I looked through this and looked at the triggers, it looks like it's selling 6 times once a month. I would probably actually go for this book and make $4.83 on it versus the $5. If it was a huge margin or if there's a lot more offers on here, I might not do that, but it might be worth it to make $4.83. Or you might say, hey, $5 is my actual cutoff. I do not want this book, and that's why it says accept, because it did not fit into these triggers. So that is how triggers work in a nutshell. More videos like this coming every Thursday at 6 p.m. EST. Be sure to check back then. I'll see you guys there. you.